Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Policy Talks. I'm Dave Crouch, and this is the monthly show that's brought to you by the Williamson Inc., our Chamber of Commerce here in Williamson County. We've got a bright-eyed bunch here at Columbia State this morning. We're glad to have a live audience here that keeps us on our toes. The Columbia State campus is beautiful today, and it's growing. The new building is coming out of the ground, and looking forward to seeing it continue to grow since they've moved to this campus. Also got a TV audience thanks to Creed Henderson and the crew at WCTV, and look forward to having them watching us several times over the next few days. And Tom Lawrence over at WAKM will be live streaming us on WAKM. So look forward to having a great conversation this morning. Our guest this morning, special guest, some hometown Williamson County people that we're very proud of. Tennessee Commissioner of the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. It's a big mouthful. Jeff Long, our former sheriff and someone that we've known a long time. Colonel Matt Perry, now the leader of the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Is that a good way to put it for those of us that are not military and don't know the difference between a colonel and a lieutenant colonel? But I guess Sam Whitson can explain that to me in a little while. But we really appreciate y'all taking the time to be with us this morning. And Jeff, just reading your bio, at the time you were appointed commissioner, I think you'd been in the law enforcement industry or business 46 years, and you must have started when you were about 3 years old. But how did you get evolved from one space to the next in this business?
Well, good morning, Dave, and thank you. Yes, I've been very blessed, honestly. Started my law enforcement career in my home county in 1971 as a deputy sheriff, and got to accelerate from there, and got probably the best thing that ever happened to me is in 1974, I went to work with the Tennessee State Fire Marshal's office as an arson investigator, and was in Memphis, Tennessee, and typical state government, the first day at work, they said, guess what, you've been reassigned. And I showed up in Franklin, Tennessee. I had the opportunity to move to Middle Tennessee. They told us we could move anywhere we wanted to in Middle. So Dora and I came up and rode and saw the pasture at that time all the way from the interstate through 96 to Franklin, and got downtown and saw the business district, saw the homes in Franklin, and she said, there's no use in going anywhere else to look. This is it. So we picked Franklin, and best decision we've ever made.
Well, it's great to have you with us. Now, how long were you sheriff of Williamson County now?
I had the honor to serve here as sheriff for 10 years.
It was a very non-eventful time as far as the newspapers for the sheriff's department. That's considered successful, I think. And I think the first thing Governor Bill Lee did after he was sworn in, maybe was to swear you in as the commissioner. Is that right?
That's pretty close. I'm honored to get to serve the citizens of the state of Tennessee.
That's great. The gentleman beside you, native Williamson County man now, can't say boy anymore, and Matt Perry, you've kind of followed a similar path, but ended up in a little different place. Tell us about it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. So, I say my career started in 1979 when I was born. But no, I joke. My dad was a trooper, retired about a decade ago. But that's what I say. I've only been a trooper, I guess, about 20 years, but I've been in it my whole life. So I started the sheriff's department here in Williamson County. At the end of 2001, I was hired and started my career and worked for a couple of years, and finally got the opportunity. Loved the sheriff's department. Didn't work for Sheriff Long. Sheriff LaCates was sheriff at the time, and hired me, and then Sheriff Headley for a little while. And then I went on to the Highway Patrol. My dad was our training captain at the time, and that's kind of the life I had grown up in and knew I always wanted to be a trooper. And so started there and was a road deputy in Williamson County, a road trooper in Williamson County. Then went to our crash reconstruction team, which goes all over the state, kind of the worst of the worst fatal crashes. Then was promoted to sergeant in Davidson County, then lieutenant, captain over the Nashville district, which includes, the Nashville district is 13 counties, including Williamson. And that's kind of where you start the executive side of, or the leadership side of our department as a captain. And then I was a field major, and I was lieutenant colonel and the executive officer of my predecessor, Derek Stewart. And then luckily, I guess almost 2 years ago, it'll be, I guess 2 years and 3 months, I will have been colonel for almost 2 years. So, and the colonel is the uniformed head of the highway patrol. I'm the highest ranking uniform member.
Right. That's a great story. Until I started preparing for this show, I had no idea. I kind of knew what all the highway patrol and the Homeland Security units do, but when you look at it all as you're trying to put it into a 1 hour show, it's crazy how much territory y'all cover. Jeff, tell us overall the scope of the Homeland Security and Department of Safety and what all you oversee, and then I want Colonel Perry to give us the same thing on the highway patrol.
Okay. We have basically 4 major units in the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. Of course, we have the Tennessee Highway Patrol. We have the Office of Homeland Security, where we have Homeland Security agents that work cases across the state, trying to keep us safe here in the state of Tennessee. We also have the Highway Safety Office. If you go to a sporting event and on the Jumbotron or the announcements of something you hear about driving and impaired and things, and it's sponsored by the Highway Safety Office. That's a group that we have across the state, and we partner with the University of Tennessee to spread the word about safe driving across Tennessee. And then we have the driver's license division, which is the one I'm busy with the most. When I came in, people were complaining about the waiting lines and how long it took to get a driver's license. And we worked probably the first 2.5 years pretty well consistently on driver's license division. And I'm happy to say we started with like a 2-hour wait. And I think the last figure I saw average across the state of Tennessee, we've gotten it down to about 14 minutes.
Wow. So
a lot of dedicated employees. We tried to upgrade and try to make it modern day by technology. Our vision is eventually you'll be able to get your driver's license renewed. You'll never have to go to a driver's license station. You'll be able to do it online.
How much longer do we have to get the star on our driver's license?
It starts again next year at this month, October of 2023. So we're encouraging people, don't wait to the last minute. You'll probably see some lines. Right. We're way ahead of most states, so I think we've got about 4 million licensed drivers in the state, and we've already done right at 2 million. So we're well ahead of some of the other states, but still you need to go ahead and do it. And it's so easy to do now. Now you have the opportunity, instead of going into the center and bringing your documents in and standing in a line and taking a long time, you can upload those documents on the internet. And you'll have those already uploaded. You go into a driver's license center, they just simply compare the documents against what you uploaded, and you're in maybe 15 minutes, you're out with real ID.
Goodness.
And it's right now, it's still, if you're going to go into a federal building or a nuclear facility, and I know most of us not planning on going to a nuclear facility, but I think that's going to change. I think, and I'm already hearing a lot of businesses are now requiring real ID. So I think you'll probably see that maybe even with the airline industry and things like that. So I'm encouraging everyone, please go ahead and try to get that and get it done.
Deal. Now, Matt, I'll give away one of my secrets. Part of the preparation for these shows is Googling our guests. And when I Googled the Tennessee Highway Patrol and limited it to just the last 30 days of news stories, it was like 11,000 items. I had no idea what all the highway patrol was involved in, and, but give us an overall view of it if you can. And, kind of tell us how much of the time our troopers spend doing accident reports versus other things.
Anything else? Yeah, so we do a lot more than just writing tickets and working crashes. That's kind of people's first thought. But we're really the second or third largest police force in the state if you look at just our total personnel allocation. So we tend to be and Commissioner brings this, and I'm the same way. We want to help everybody. We want to assist all of our local law enforcement partners. A lot of jurisdictions across the state that don't have enough deputies or officers or resources, and we bring that. We've got an aviation division. We've got 6 helicopters. Of course, you saw that in the news. We lost a pilot in a helicopter crash, a month or so ago, and a deputy from Marion County Sheriff's Department was lost in that same crash. So we're still reeling a little bit. That's a loss that you can't, you just can't overcome.
Right.
Somebody like Lee Russell, he's as good a helicopter pilot as there was, and we basically have 3 pilots in kind of the 3 grand divisions of the state, or 1 in each of the 3 grand divisions, and they fly missions daily. Some of those are looking for missing hikers and kayakers. Some of them are looking for, bad guys on the run. A lot of different things, but they fly almost every day, whether it's a THP-related mission or they're flying in support of state parks or some other agency.
Right.
We have a SWAT team that goes all over the state doing high-risk search warrants. We do a lot of, the biggest thing we do is what we call EOD, Explosives Ordnance Disposal. And we get somebody who's bought a farm in an old barn. They find some old dynamite that's crystallized and highly volatile. They go and render that stuff safe. That's probably the majority of their job. We are kind of responsible for every school bus in the state, making sure they're safe, and that's public, private, daycares. That's a big task that troopers do. We inspect every bus every year.
Wow.
So, and you can imagine how many buses there are across the state, and so we do that. We run all the scale houses, trying to make sure commercial vehicles are operating safely in the state. Not overweight, which destroys our roadways, plus becomes, can be very dangerous in a crash. When you've got an 80,000-pound vehicle already is dangerous, and when they're, overweight, it becomes that much more of a projectile moving around. We do a lot of other things too. We're trying to hire a ton. We try to do our part to make the roadways safer in Tennessee, and some of that is speeding and trying to reduce crashes, fatal crashes, but some of it is preventing crime from happening. There's a lot of interstate shootings that are happening now. They happen a lot in Memphis and Nashville, but we're seeing it. Rutherford County's had their share of interstate shootings, so we like to be visible.
Right.
So we talk about, you see a trooper, everybody sees a trooper on the side of the road, those blue lights, they're out, I got to slow down. And that's really all we want. We're really not out there trying to see how many tickets we can write, because when everybody in this room drives by a trooper car, I drove by one this morning with the lights on, we all slow down a little bit. We all pay attention. We don't know if that trooper is just changing a tire or writing a ticket, but we're trying to affect behavior and just get people to be a little bit safer.
I told somebody I was going to ask you exactly how far over the speed limit you can go without getting a ticket, but I'm not going to make you answer that.
You can't go that speed. 70 miles an hour on the interstate. And something else that we're doing that's come with the governor's executive order 97 is with school safety. We have troopers. I said we're the second or third largest police force in the state. We're in every county. So we're already in school zones trying to slow people down, making sure kids are wearing their seatbelts. So, we thought we'd take it to the next step.
Yeah.
So we're driving through school parking lots daily, and there's just over 1,800 schools in the state, and we don't hit them all, but we try to on a daily basis. So we drive through the parking lots now. We're not trying to alarm parents or make anybody think there's something going on in the school. We just we're there. We might as well ride through. If we see something unusual, we work with the school resource officers, we work with the principals. we're not just going to get out and go banging on doors at schools. But if we see something that looks suspicious or off, we're going to be visible. So if you see a trooper at your kid's school, please don't worry. We're just there doing our part to help keep our kids safe.
Now, Jeff, there's a highway safety division separate from the THP, or in concert with you. And about a year ago, I experienced what they call the tail of the dragon over in East Tennessee on a holiday weekend about this time of year, and scared my wife to death because the motorcycles were flying through that stretch, flying, I mean literally. And I understand y'all funded an effort to slow that traffic down a little bit this year. Is that right?
Yes, the Highway Safety Office gives out grants to local agencies and for enforcement in general, and that was one of them that we have. They do different ones. We have coordinators across the state that are assigned to work with the local law enforcement. You'll see a lot of actions. I-40 Challenge is one of them, where there's 6 or 7 states involved, and Interstate 40 at one time that will concentrate on the I-40. We have one that goes to Georgia on I-75. They're constantly having different events, getting law enforcement concentrated, trying to slow the traffic down a little bit, trying to be more careful while they're driving. Right.
Tail of the Dragon, by the way, is a 11-mile stretch of Highway 129, I believe it is, that goes pretty much over the Appalachian Ridge there south of Knoxville. And it's quite an exciting stretch of road. I think the report I saw, they've had 93 crashes so far this year, 2 of which are fatal.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a high crash area because of the traffic that goes across there and the speed they go across. It's unfortunately a high crash area.
Right. Now you've got another effort, I think, going on Briley Parkway, or you had here this past week, I believe. Is that out of your office, or where did that come from?
Yes, so we do operations all over the state, kind of like Commissioner said. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office they'll give troopers grant money too. So basically, just when we talk about grant money or working overtime, if a trooper works a 40-hour week, this allows them to work extra. So it's just keeps more bodies on the road for longer. But we do operations. We did a commercial vehicle operation in and around Davidson County. Just trying to, they don't see a lot of troopers in Nashville proper, and so we just did a big operation to remind them we're here, and they just do the little things, like we've all been behind a dump truck. I've got a crack in my windshield right now from a dump truck that didn't have its tarp over its load of rocks, and that was 2 weeks ago. So those kind of things, they'll stop trucks. Those are unsafe things that potentially can cause a crash, and so we did an operation here in Nashville. We've been doing one in Memphis. They've had some interstate shootings. We've tried to throw as many troopers out as possible just to be visible and present, deter people from bad things.
Now, the city of Memphis, I understand, has asked you all to increase your presence there because of the tragic events that have happened there over the past few weeks. Is that something you're going to be able to accommodate? What's that going to look like?
Absolutely. We want to have a bigger presence. So that the most fatal crashes in our state occur in the metropolitan areas: Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, and certainly Memphis. So we know if we can get a little more personnel in those areas, we can help that out. And in Memphis' case, they've been asking for a little while for us, and we're trying to. We're hiring. We hired about once a year is kind of our normal hiring practice for virtually the history of the Highway Patrol. We've, thanks to Commissioner Long and a whole lot of support, it's taken a lot of legislative support, the governor's office, but we hire once a quarter now, trying to fill, and the governor gave us 100 new positions this year, and that's brand new positions. So we went from 943 to just over 1,043, and you know, we might ask for more. I think we're gonna need it, but we I think this time last year, we probably had 4 troopers assigned to Shelby County. So in the metropolitan areas, we don't answer as many calls for service. Those departments do it themselves. But with everything going on and law enforcement around the country and people, not flooding to the job probably like they once did,
Right.
Everybody's sort of short on personnel, and we feel like we're having good hiring success and keeping our numbers up. And like I said, we got 100 new positions, so we want to do our part. I think we're at about 15 troopers in Shelby County now, and we'd like to push that up to about 30, just to constantly have a presence. They had, I don't want to keep focusing on Memphis, it's a great city, but they had about 90 or so shootings on the interstate last year. This year they're down. Hopefully and it's a partnership. We have a great relationship, Memphis Police Department, Shelby County Sheriff's Department. That none of us in law enforcement can do our job anywhere without working together, and that's kind of our philosophy.
According to your website, I think as of last night, maybe we've got 974 fatalities on Tennessee roads so far this year. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. He was saying we're 16 down from last year. So
okay.
We were having really good success prior to sort of the COVID pandemic in terms of slowly working fatal crashes down. I mean, even though our population, we all know, is skyrocketed in Middle Tennessee, but in Tennessee in general, and we were probably doing really good fatal crash-wise. The last couple of years, we've seen a sharp increase. Overall crashes went down during COVID while everybody was working from home, but fatal crashes went way up. And that was across the country, not just in Tennessee. But we are finally, we fought long and hard for the last 2 years. We finally started working that number down a little bit. It's still way too high, 900 and something. I mean, we're still going to be well over 1,000 by the end of the year, which is, we don't, that's not a success in any form or fashion, but we are working it back in the right direction.
I see there are 4 primary reasons for fatalities, one of which is seatbelts. News reported a crash up near Tellico Plains this past week, I think, had 3 fatalities. All 3 were ejected. Now, if they're ejected, that means they didn't have their seatbelt on, right?
That's correct.
Okay. What are they thinking? I mean,
I don't know. My grandmother, my mom's mom, she wasn't going to wear her seatbelt, but she was that old school mindset. She was sure that she was going to run off the bridge, down by Earl's fruit stand and end up in the river. And she was convinced that she'd be upside down if she had that seatbelt on. She wasn't going to survive. So there's some of that mindset. You can't tell me what to do. I determine my own safety, but almost half the people in fatal crashes aren't wearing their seatbelt. It's really simple. It's the biggest contributor across. It's not a physical act of the vehicle when I say it, like speeding or driving recklessly, but it's the one thing you can do that it's not going to guarantee it. There's some crashes that your time is your time, but it's going to reduce the likelihood of death or serious injury. I mean, it's the greatest thing you can do is wear your seatbelt.
speeding is one of the other major causes, primarily by males under the age of 25.
That's right.
Is that why they have to pay higher insurance rates?
That's exactly why. That's exactly why. Yeah, speeding is just that thing. The faster you're going, the more severe the end or the stop is going to be. So speeding is and certainly interstate speeds. I mean, you're already going 70 miles an hour with a lot of vehicles. I mean, that's why those tend to always be more severe crashes.
Right. Distracted driving. Jeff, tell us what your opinion of distracted drivers and what we need to do about them, what they cause.
We see all forms of distracted driving. We see people on their telephones. We see ladies making their makeup going down the road. We see it all.
It's
So,
Tammy.
you know, the thing we try to talk to people about is just put the phone down. I mean, I know you got to talk to somebody, but wait till you get to a safe place. Or, as the law says, wait till you come to a stop, and then you can say something. But put the phone down, slow down. All of us travel the interstates all the time. We see the speeds that are going on the interstate. If we could just get the public to listen to us and just slow down a little bit, put the telephone down, keep your eyes on the road, keep your hands on the steering wheel where they belong, we would be able to reduce the fatality rate a great amount.
Now, 10 years as sheriff, you probably saw a few DUIs in your time. Probably locked up a few in the jail. How big a problem is that these days, and what do you think we can do about that?
Well, we certainly have too many. There's no doubt about that. We saw a change for a period of time where the alcohol-related deaths and accidents dropped, and then the drug-related started higher. And that made law enforcement had to change their training methods from training on recognizing alcohol related to drug recognition. So now we have all the drug recognition people, but then we see alcohol coming back into it. It happens every day. I have a radio in my car for the highway patrol, and I heard them transporting some last night because of alcohol. People just don't think about the danger of drinking and think that they've gotten by with it before, they can get by with it again, or they think that they have control of the automobile when they really don't. So the simple message is if you drink, don't drive. It's simple.
Simple.
And don't let a buddy drink and drive.
Right. I mean, there's so many stories about people that just did dumb things, and we had a Brentwood officer killed by a driver that just had to drive home that night. So now, Colonel, you had an incident back in January up in Nashville on I-65 with a fellow that was apparently under the influence of drugs. Your trooper, as I understood it, stopped to give the guy a ride home. And tell us what happened and what we learned from that. Is there something we can do about situations like that?
Yeah, that was a tough situation. We had a young trooper and then a veteran sergeant that was on scene. That was tough. He thought he was just stopping out with a guy walking down the interstate, which is against the law, but we're not worried about how against the law it is. Just the unsafe nature. You're walking down the side of the interstate. You're risking your life, and it turns out that guy had been into probably an issue at home and was really struggling, probably with some things in his life, and just kind of lost control of himself, and put the troopers and metro officers at a place where they had to make a decision between their safety and
Right.
and the motoring public. So
That resulted in a fatality, and
it did.
I know you hate things like that, but
It's tough.
if they appear to put the troopers or the public in danger, you've got to
That's
act
right.
on things like that.
That's right.
Well, there was another segue that was taking me, and it just went the other way. But let's go on down my list. I probably need to stick to my list. But again, all these road fatalities of all kinds. How much time do your officers spend just writing up accident reports? I mean,
well, the report itself, they vary depending on, if you go to a scene of a hit and run crash. So we work a lot of those. Somebody sideswipes somebody on the interstate. We get there and we do our investigation on scene, try to get as much information about the vehicle that left the scene, so that those can take hours and days and sometimes weeks. A just fender bender that we see all the time, a rear end collision on 65. Those take maybe an hour or so to work them, and then another hour or two to do the report. I mean, it's time consuming to do it right. Our report, early in my career, the report was a page or two, and now it seems like it's 100 pages to fill out a crash report. There's so much information that's gathered.
Right. Back to my segue from the last item. You're apparently now doing training for sensory inclusive training, I think they call it.
That's right.
What is that? What is that?
It's how to, we're trying to learn how to recognize people that have something going on other than, just they're having a bad day. People that are, have sensory issues when it comes to just how you interact with them, lights, loud noises. Everybody has something. This doesn't isolate just a certain part of the population. Everybody's got something going on. It's trying to learn to recognize things that might be happening with somebody that don't have anything to do with you stopping them. They're not being disrespectful or rude. It's really just trying to make us a little bit better, make us a little more aware of kind of what's going on with people when we see certain things, or if they can't make eye contact, or they won't make eye contact, or they're not really listening. It's just sort of being aware and putting another tool we call it a tool in our toolbox to make us a little bit better at dealing with the public. And it's all about sort of de-escalation. So getting to a scene or getting even a crash. I mean, we deal with people, unfortunately, a lot of times at their worst. Sometimes it's because we stopped them for speeding and they're like, oh crap, I'm about to get a ticket and it's going to cost me a bunch of money, or they just gotten, an argument with a loved one and they're frustrated, or had a death in the family. Recognizing those kind of things with people, and then how to sort of bring the situation down, how to calm the situation, whether we're at a crash or on a traffic stop with someone. That's kind of what it is. Right.
I can't imagine being out there with your guys every day. That a lot of important, impactful decisions being made
in a split
all
second.
Day long, every day.
That's right. And
fortunately, you're helping these guys be trained to deal with that.
And also it's Culture City that we work with. So we've got stickers on our car that denote that we've had this sensory training, and it's a tool that a lot of people in this country use. So they know when they come to Tennessee, they see that sticker, okay, sorry, that's a safe space. That's someone I can go talk to if I'm confused or lost or having an issue. So that's part of why we have this sticker too, is to let people know that, hey, we're somebody you can come talk to if you need us.
Right. What about work zones? I drive down to Murray County a time or two a week to a farm we've got down there, and going through that work zone at exit 46. If you slow down to the speed limit that's posted, all these Florida and Alabama cars just flying by you.
You said it. These Alabama cars. Yeah, the work zones are the most dangerous thing for our workers, our construction, TDOT, everybody. It's the most dangerous thing. I mean, that lives are lost. A lot of lives are lost every year to construction workers and crews because people just don't pay attention. That's the time. Commissioner said distracted driving is anything you do. When you reach down to turn the air up, to change the channel, we all do it. Not saying it's necessarily, well, it really can. It's all distracted driving. It all can be cited for. Not everybody agrees with that, but if you reach into your McDonald's bag to grab some fries and you look down for a second, you're distracted. You've taken your eyes and attention off the roadway. We never want you to do that, but in a construction zone, you see all the warning signs, the orange and yellow. Slow down, pay attention. That's where your head needs to be on a swivel to protect, our partners. I mean, TDOT's a huge partner of ours, and we work together with them, and we're going to enforce those work zones, and the penalties are stiffer, and we take it a little more serious, just like a school zone.
Right.
Gotcha. Let me add to that just a minute, Dave.
Sure.
You brought that one up. I got a call about it this week, matter of fact. The traffic is backing up on the interstate because it can't get through the red light at the bottom of the exit.
Right.
And we got to checking and trying to find out if the red light was regulated by TDOT or whether it was the construction company. And we found out that the construction company regulated the red light. And so we've worked with them this week about trying to do the time change, especially during rush hour traffic, to get that traffic off the interstate, because you come over a hill and there they are stopped and you can't stop. Same thing on 65. I face it every day at 840, past the 3 or 4 lane going down to the 2 lane. It backs up so bad and trying to get off. And so we're trying to regulate, or trying to help them regulate that traffic light to get that traffic off onto 99, get them off the interstate.
I've experienced that. That exit is a lot busier than most people realized, I think, and the construction has exacerbated the issues there, I think. So,
let me also add a point that Matt made a few minutes ago. One of the things we're seeing now also on the road is guns in particular. Everybody is carrying guns, and especially people who have committed crime are carrying guns with them. And we're seeing a lot of the traffic stops that we have. We've had, I can just off the top of my head, recall 3 shootouts that our troopers have been involved in the last couple of years. One a week ago or two on I-24 in Coffee County. He does a stop on the interstate system. Gentleman comes out with 2 handguns in his hand, starts shooting through the windshield of the patrol car and shoots the trooper in the shoulder. We had one in Knoxville. We had one in Chattanooga. So the day is different now about people carrying firearms, especially being mad and coming out with the firearms, where you used to didn't see that much. But we see it more and more now.
it's crazy. Now, you mentioned, Matt mentioned the helicopter crash a few weeks ago. I noticed, Commissioner, you've got a 3 Stars of Tennessee award that you recently awarded to several first responders, troopers. Tell us about that award and how that gets awarded.
Yeah, one of the senators started that, and it was a great idea. She was in Texas and saw that they had an award ceremony when she was down there, and thought it would be good to do it in Tennessee. Came back, and the legislature passed a resolution to do that. And every year we have an award ceremony through Homeland Security where we recognize first responders that are killed in the line of duty. And it's a ceremony for their family to be able to see how much their service was appreciated and how much the individual was appreciated for what they did and ultimately paying that sacrifice for our citizens of our state. And it's a great recognition, and the governor comes and speaks at it. He actually now meets with the family before the ceremony and talks to them, and it's just a good time to recognize those individuals that have given their all.
One other thing about the officers' daily involvement, pursuits. I understand philosophy's changed on pursuits over the last few years. Tell us where the state is on that now, Matt.
So a pursuit is one of the most dangerous things for a police officer and for the general public. So we don't take those lightly. We don't just, probably like the good old days, don't just willy-nilly chase everybody because they weren't wearing their seatbelt or had tinted windows. So we look at the crime that potentially was committed. So obviously we're chasing somebody who's committed a crime against somebody, murder or something that severe. We're going to probably pursue a little longer and a little harder because that person is a risk to the public. Our litmus is probably really, really simple. If you go out to stop a car that's speeding 80, 90 miles an hour, and they're just speeding, they're driving straight down the interstate, they're speeding, they're not in and out of traffic, and we get behind them, and now they start going 120, 130, they're in and out of traffic, they're passing on the shoulder. I shouldn't say this, but we're going to stop pursuing that person because they have escalated. They are now risking everybody's life, and we're not gonna. We've created that now. If that person already goes by at 120 in and out of traffic on the shoulder, and we get those calls a lot. We call those BOLOs. Be on the lookout for reckless drivers. We get those all the time. They're running cars off the road in the median. Now, that's a different story. They're already endangering the public, you know, actively endangering the public. So and then we've all heard, or y'all have all heard the wrong way on the interstate. Those you have to end as quickly as possible. So, because they are going to always probably kill someone, but they're going to severely hurt them. I mean, there's never a good ending to a wrong way driver. So
Right.
Those we're going to try to end that one pretty quickly.
That's scary. Jeff, we've had some disasters since you've been in your position. Last year, the Waverly floods. I think the Nashville Christmas bombing. I think that's 2020, I believe. Some tornadoes right after you were sworn in. How is the Department of Homeland Safety involved in those, the highway patrols and so forth?
Well, of course, different avenues of it. Let's take the Waverly flooding. We had helicopters flying, rescuing people. We had troopers. We had one trooper that's been recognized nationally for saving a life, where he literally got into the water and saved a life during that flood. As Matt says, we're one of the first responders because we have the capability of having people in every county. So we're going to help our local partners, and that's exactly what we did in Waverly during the flood. And we sent additional strike teams, we call them. We have strike teams in the different districts across the state, and we send those strike teams to help. During the tornadoes, we had 3 rounds of tornado right after Governor Lee took office. We had troopers out constantly during that for weeks, responding and protecting the home goods of individuals that their houses had been destroyed, trying to help search and rescue to make sure whether people were still in the homes or not. We had troopers doing that the entire time, and Homeland Security agents. We activated them and have that do that. We had 67 days, I believe it was, a protest at the Capitol right after all of that with COVID. And then the Waverly thing, you know, the thing about Waverly that really stuck home to me about that in particular is those of us who are old enough to remember the bombing or the train derailment in Waverly and the explosion. We were there that night. We went from Franklin, a group of us did, to go down and be there when that happened. And I told somebody not long ago, to show you how you mature over the years, hopefully, is that we had a fire truck from the city of Franklin that was stuck in a creek after the first explosion, but the second train car had not exploded and didn't know whether it was going to or not. They were trying to keep it cooled down enough from exploding. But we were worried about that fire truck, it being a new fire truck. We were all down on the creek trying to push that fire truck out, not even thinking about the danger of that second explosion. So Waverly has certainly had their opportunities that, you know, you just pray for Waverly because they were devastated after this flood. A lot of people saw it on television and saw some of the highlights, but they did not see the extreme damage that's done to Waverly. I mean, they had no schools. They had nothing. So they're really suffering from that, and we're there to help them any way we can, directing traffic, doing anything we can help the sheriff or the chief or any of those with. And we do that across the state all the time.
Okay. Our friends at the state legislature, Sam Whitson's here with us, passed a constitutional carry bill, a little more explicit, I think, this past year. What does it actually mean? And I understand the law enforcement community wasn't particularly excited about that bill, but you don't have to express an opinion on that. But what does it actually mean? What can a person in Tennessee do or not do with?
Well, I think under the last bill, Representative, correct me, you can carry your firearm concealed or in certain circumstances open, but you have to have a certain amount of training. It still didn't change totally. Some you don't have to have the training, but we recommend that you go through the training school to be carrying a weapon. Carrying a weapon, you know, we try to stress on people, you have the constitutional right to carry that weapon, but that is a huge, huge responsibility. Law enforcement goes through multiple hours of training about taking a life. And that's something an individual needs to think about if they're going to carry their firearm, which they have the constitutional right to do, is are you prepared, first of all, to take a life if you have to? And what are going to be the consequences of that? And you need to think that and need to be trained for that in order to have that awesome responsibility.
I can imagine. Colonel, you got anything to add to that?
I think you said it best. I mean, I'll go to because you can carry your guns. People are carrying them everywhere. They're in their cars constantly. This is, I mean, some of these shootings I'm talking about are not, these are just these road rage, spur of the moment kind of incidents where people have gotten frustrated and literally are firing out of their car while they're moving. So, and people are leaving their guns in their cars. It's one of the biggest things right now is people are looking for cars. It's happened in Franklin and neighborhoods. It happens all across the state. People are looking for open doors or stuff they can see. They're not trying to steal a car. They're not trying to, they want to find money and guns. And unfortunately, people leave their guns in their car. So that's another part of this constitutional carry thing is everybody's got their gun with them all the time, but then they forget that they left it in their glove box or under their seat or wherever. So I would just say, on that respect, lock your guns up. I'd say most of the time you don't need a gun out here to go live your life, and certainly in Franklin, Williamson County.
That's great. Given the statistics on male drivers under the age of 25, I'm going to ask Judge Sharon Guffey if she would like to have additional responsibility over the youth up to age 25. Could you help slow those guys down, Sharon?
Well, here's what I do is I take their driver's license.
That works too.
Down. And we encourage parents to do that as well. I mean, that's the very first thing that you can do. Can I just add one thing that's not related to that? The commissioner, you left out one little part of his resume. He's an attorney. And many of y'all may not know that he was a prosecutor for the 21st Judicial District for several years with me and several others here a long time ago. And he was down in Lewis and Perry counties for a number of years and prosecuted some of the more serious crimes in our judicial district. And so he has a great law enforcement background, but he also has that piece that some people don't know about. So I wanted to make sure
Thanks for
got
pointing
that in there. Yeah.
I can personally attest that when you take a kid's driver's license, it does slow them down because they don't want to lose it again.
And as a parent, that's what you should do.
You actually kill three birds with one stone, so to speak, because my oldest son lost his license for, a couple of weeks after his second moving violation. And the other two didn't want that to happen either, so slowed all three of them down. So, and I don't know how many of their friends, but it works. Representative Whitson, we talked about constitutional carry. Maybe you should explain the difference between a lieutenant colonel and a colonel, given your military background. But what was the legislature doing with the constitutional carry, and did it accomplish what you intended?
Well, thank you, Dave. First of all, I want to say, I tell you what, we are so proud of our two Williamson County favorites here on the Hill. I tell you, the leadership that the Commissioner Long and Colonel Perry show up there is amazing. Big part of their job, if I could add, not to get away from the question, but they're down there a lot helping us craft good laws. They'll be in budget hearings soon, and they'll have to take all kind of questions. And there's a lot of people think are good ideas down there, but I rely on them for their expertise to make sure we do not pass laws that causes consequences we do not anticipate. And we could not have better representation in our law enforcement community than these two gentlemen here. And I'm just proud of them. I know there's a young lady in here that's very proud of one of these members up here, and that's Colonel Perry's mom. But again, and I didn't know he was a arson investigator, Judge, so that's also learn something new every day. So, but on the constitutional carry, one of my jobs in the Army, I was a battalion commander for new recruits coming in, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. These kids couldn't hit their plate with a fork, okay? And so in 12 weeks, we worked to train them on how to engage and operate and employ weapons. Everything from a 9mm to a 40mm grenade launcher. My concern is, and the commissioner hit it right, people do not understand the consequences of using a firearm. Somebody cutting you off in traffic is not justification to pull out a gun and shoot somebody. And that's where we really need the training component on this constitutional carry. The bill that passed allows anyone that is not a felon to carry a gun in Tennessee, basically. No other requirement. It's called you have to be 21 and older. Now, you can still get a carry permit because other states, you could carry in other states reciprocity agreements that we have with like Alabama, Georgia, and that's where you have to go through the training and the background check. But basically right now, for 21 and up, is my understanding, if I recall the law correctly, is that if you don't have a criminal record, and you can carry a gun. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front, I voted against that law based on my background and training of employing weapons and supervising young military police soldiers for 26 years. There was a move to drop that age down to 18 this year. It did not pass the Senate, didn't come to the the House side. So I'm sure it will come back this year. But with the shootings we've seen in the schools from those people who go out and buy a firearm in those states that are 18, 19 years old, that is concerning to me. I still believe the training so people understand the consequences of using a firearm is critical to be a responsible gun owner. I believe in training and responsible gun ownership. Also, one other thing I'd like to say, take this opportunity real quick. I really believe our criminal justice system, our courts, our law enforcement, and our corrections are all underfunded in this state. We've seen the growth in the population. We have to look at that. The 100 troopers is a good start for our folks, but also our courts need help. They're underfunded. Again, there's so many challenges we have now and today in America that we did not have 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I'd just like to say, in my 52 years of driving, I only met one trooper on the side of the road. Okay.
Good segue on funding, because our county commission has funded SROs, I think, for every school in the county. Is that right, Brian Bethard? Congratulations, sir. Brian has just been selected as the chairman of our county commission here in Williamson County, and I think they've made a good choice there. What does the future of I didn't see the mayor sitting over there. I guess I could have gotten him to answer this question, but again, that is very important, I think, to our parents to have SROs, resource officers in the school system. Anything else that the county commission can do to ensure the security of our kids?
Well, again, like you said, we have SROs in all the schools. We also help fund the SROs for FSSD, even though the commission doesn't have dominion, so to speak, over those schools. We do want to protect those children. They're Williamson County children. I know there's been a lot of work done at the state to ensure that all of our schools have SROs. I believe it's important. I believe it does a tremendous job in keeping our schools safe and helping to stave off any situation that could get ugly.
Congratulations on the new job. Any specific agenda you have there as the chairman now?
No specific agenda, just to keep the meetings rolling, keep them rolling fairly, and get our work done each evening.
Thank you, Brian. Jason Potts, City of Franklin, Alderman, 3rd Ward.
Yes, sir.
Anything going on with the city, particularly with public safety, that you can share with us?
First, thank you for the question. I want to thank both the gentlemen here for speaking. I was very excited when yesterday at the State of the School, we learned more about how our state troopers are involved and rolling through our schools and checking for safety. So I think that's a great partnership that has been established, and I look forward to it continuing.
Thank you, Jason. Mr. Mayor, now that I've spotted you over here, Mayor Rogers Anderson's with us this morning, and you get to fund the sheriff's department and oversee a lot of things that have to do with the public safety of our citizens. You think we got the right men in place?
Oh, absolutely, both of them. And since you didn't ask me a specific question, let me comment on the Commissioner and to the Colonel both, how much we appreciate what you all have done and continue will do. But with that being mine, I never miss an opportunity to ask a favor of the Commissioner.
Need the microphone, you answer it.
So I was late coming to the meeting this morning, but I was listening to your conversation about the driver's license. In fact, I just asked Cal, did he have his STAR license? And he did, and I do not yet. I will get that. But I would encourage you to have a public safety message across this state from Memphis to Mountain Home to encourage, one, our veterans across this state to get that identification marked on their driver's license, and then through a public safety message. And two, to provide free driver's license to all veterans across this state that have served and discharged honorably. I think that would send a message to encourage our young men and women to get in the military, serve honorably, and get out. And I'm sure that does have a price tag, but I think it would be worth it. And then my question to ask either the Colonel or Jeff is the latest technology that is going on out there. We're hearing a lot of conversations about technology, and that's where we're going with all of our activities. What are we missing? What do we need to be focusing on to pick up on it? We hear a lot of conversation about readers and the driver's license and picking all that. What other items do we need to be looking at the local level that match up with yours?
Thank you, Mayor, and always good to see you. And you was talking about SROs. Fortunate I was here when the time was that the mayor and the commission helped us put SROs in every schools, and every school that had over, I believe it's 1,500 in population, we put 2 at least in every school, and that's not heard of across the state. Williamson County has stepped out front on that to keep our kids safe, and thank you. Mayor, we have been in conversation. Matter of fact, I've talked to the county attorney, Lisa Carson, about the license plate readers. I think you're going to see something probably come out on that pretty soon. License plate readers has the advantage of catching crime in the act, you might say. I'll give you, for instance, the young lady who was shot on the interstate system in Nashville, the nurse. They were able to look at some of the license plate numbers, and that's how we were able to find out who that offender was. That happens all across the state every day on license plate readers. The only thing we want to make sure of with the technology, that it's the best technology, that it's a shareable technology that all law enforcement can utilize and have the searchability to search that data and try to get the information. So those are the things. There's all kinds of technology coming out. One thing is called Shots Reader, where it'll actually interpret if shots are fired in a municipality or somewhere that you have a crime area. It'll notify you of shots being fired before you get the call. There are several of those things that everybody's looking at right now to try to do that, and I do appreciate that about the veterans. Reese Smith called me this week. He couldn't find his DD-214, but wanted to know how else he could get his designation as veteran on his driver's license, and changed the law. Matter of fact, I think it was maybe last year or year before last, Senator Yeager was interested in that and got it changed, and there's about 3 or 4 forms, different types of identification you can use to get your veteran status on it, and we'll certainly look at waiving those and see if that's feasible. Yes.
Colonel Perry, you're saved by the bell. I was going to ask your mom to tell us some interesting facts about you that probably nobody else knows, but we're out of time, so. And Ann Peterson, I'm sorry, I was going to ask you the same thing, but we're out of time. Just really appreciate everyone participating here, especially Commissioner Long, Colonel Perry, taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to be with us and just share more about what's going on behind the scenes with your areas of responsibility, and just any way you can find that we can support you, let us know, because we certainly want to do that. I also want to thank Columbia State Community College, Dr. I didn't hear it, but okay. Janet Smith, for one, anyway, for letting us use this beautiful facility. And it's a great place to meet, and we enjoy being here. WCTV, Creed Henderson, appreciate you making us look good every month. Tom Lawrence at WAKM, we appreciate your help. Financial assistance from Vanderbilt University and AT&T, we appreciate their help here. Coffee from the Good Food Group, that's our McDonald's franchisee for most of the McDonald's in this area. Again, we have a better deal than McDonald's Senior Coffee. It's free here every month, so show up a little early and you can have some of that good McDonald's coffee. Thanks again to the chamber staff, Kel McDonald's, the quarterback on this particular effort, Abby Bass, Matt Largent, certainly Nancy Conway helps in ways nobody can imagine, and we just appreciate all y'all do to make this happen. We'll have another show late in October to be determined. So look forward to having y'all back. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to having you back next month.